We are live.
We are live. There you go.
So, Pablo, today let's talk about the power of negotiation and that video you saw online and how one guy was a master at it.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
So I'm into watches, and they're not unveiling, but he's showing that he just recently bought a Rolex Pepsi. Okay. And he's showing it to someone, and that someone says, "Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. It's gorgeous." And the gentleman that has it says, "Yes, it is. Thank you." And the other guy says, "I like it. I want to buy it." And the gentleman that's showing it says, "Oh, it's not for sale." And the other guy says, "Oh, yes, it is." And then the other guy says, "Oh, no, it's not."
Is this in a store? Is that where like a store setting?
It's a store setting, but you can't see the people. You can only see the watch, and you can see the two hands, the different hands. And the other guy says, "Oh, yes, it is. It's for sale. I want to buy it." No, no, it's not for sale. "Oh, yes, it is." And they go back and forth 3 times on this, okay? But the guy that's saying it's for sale, he doesn't get excited. His voice is not, he's not raising his voice. He's not being abrasive. He's just saying, oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Like implying you don't know it yet, but it is for sale. And I kind of looked back at that and I thought, wow, the guy is a master at negotiations, because he's very stealthily instilling that idea in his mind. Hey, you know what? I'll buy it.
Yeah.
Everything is for sale. I guess for the right price.
So, how does it end?
It leaves you hanging. Yeah, it doesn't show,
If he actually bought it
or
not.
it doesn't go either way. And that's the beauty of it too, because you just don't know, so you can formulate your own ending.
Yeah.
I think it will sell. What do you think?
I mean, if the guy throws out a number, the guy who's interested in buying it throws out a number, and maybe the guy says, "Hey, for that price, maybe I'll let it go."
Yeah.
You shared a story about the gentleman who was in the Aviator.
Okay.
What was his name?
Howard Hughes.
Howard Hughes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he said that every man has a price.
Everyone has a price. We just have to find out what it is.
Yeah. So maybe that guy
Wow.
just needs to find that price.
Right.
But I think if he was, yes, it is. He's done that before. He's
Oh,
good.
yeah.
He's good at negotiating, and he probably will figure out if it's that one or something similar. He might get it.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. When I see this video, he's definitely done that before.
Yeah.
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 And I thought initially, because I've seen that video 4 times, because I really like it. And maybe I'm crazy, I just, maybe I'm digging too much into it, or getting too much into it, or getting too deep, okay? But it's been done to me. As much as I think that I can negotiate with the next guy,
Yeah.
it's been done to me. And I see some young people out there, especially in the jewelry industry, dealing with these Rolexes and watches and stuff like that. They are master negotiators,
Yeah.
and they're so young. Which just goes to show you, if you want to learn an art, you just dive head first into it, no safety nets, just, and then you will learn. And that goes for everything. There's another young man that I am on social media a lot. A lot. I'm always trying to learn something.
Yeah.
And there's this young man that's into cars.
Uh-huh.
And I think he's 15 years old. And he knows about engines and the motors and what year it was changed. I mean, he is absolutely incredible. And there's a girl too.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that they have a passion for something, and you see it on social media that it comes out. Um, so how did it happen to you? Because you were in a situation where you had something that was not for sale,
Right.
and kind of a similar situation happened where it ended up being for sale.
Oh, yeah. So what happened is that I had moved from one of my locations, and I owned the building. And so I talked to a buddy of mine, and I said, "Hey, the rents are going for the. You know what? Let's put it up for rent." He's my property manager.
It was
So
a commercial building,
commercial building.
and to lease it for rent instead of you were moving out, so it was going to
I
be
was
vacant.
correct
Got it.
in the city of Azusa, and I told my property manager, "Hey, let's put it up for lease." Well, um, sure enough, this gentleman, I'll never forget it, Vietnamese gentleman, very very nice. He came to see the building, and you know, English is my second language. English is his second language, so communication was at its best. Okay, and he says, and he brought his daughter to translate too. Okay, but he could speak English.
So you met them.
I met them both at the office at the building that I own. And so, we're looking at it. He's looking at it. He went upstairs and everything. And then he comes down. He goes, I like it. Okay, I will buy it. And I said, what? And he says, I'll buy it. And I said, no, it's not for sale. And he said, oh, you're selling it, right? And I go, no, it's not for sale. It's for lease. I'm renting the building. And so we went back and forth slightly. No big deal. It wasn't. It was a very positive and encouraging meeting. It wasn't like, oh, it's a negative thing or anything like that. And very positive meeting. So he went on his way. I went on mine. And I remember thinking, well, that was potentially a waste of time because he thought the building was for sale and I'm not selling it. I'm leasing it. Then I think 2 days went by and I got a call from his nephew. I think it's his nephew. It might have been a younger brother. Anyway, a younger brother of him. And so he calls me up and he says, hey, listen, I know you have the building for lease. And I forget if he said my brother or my uncle went to see it with my sister or whatever. And I said, oh, yeah, I remember them. Very nice people, this and that and whatever. And he says, yeah, I'd like to buy it. And I'm thinking on the phone, here we go again, And I said, no, it's not for sale. And he said, well, here's my situation. I have a business in downtown LA, and I want to be closer to the business and the family. And we have a couple of places that we own on your street. And I want to be closer to my family, blah, blah, blah. So I'm willing to pay you more than what the building is worth. That was on the phone. And I said, you're willing, say that again? And he goes, I'm willing to pay you more than what the building is worth. And so that got my attention. And how much more? And so we ended up meeting. I ended up showing him the place. And sure enough, he was paying a premium for the building. He was paying more money than what the comparables were at that time. And we came to an agreement, and I disclosed all over the place because, I also have a real estate broker's license, and I don't want to be seen as taking advantage of anyone. Okay, that's extremely important. And so they say disclose, disclose, disclose. So I told him, are you sure you want to do this? Because you're paying more money than what this is really worth. Are you sure you want to do this? And he said yes. And he explained to the escrow officer, everybody. It was a very interesting story.
Yeah.
And he paid more. And he paid cash. And, but I'll tell you what. that building is worth that and maybe a little bit more today.
Yeah, because of time appreciation.
Yeah, time's gone by. Plus, he did a lot to the building
Yeah.
that I was not expecting that he would do. I definitely would not have done it because it involves construction and permits and this and that. And, I didn't want to get involved with that at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But he's done a lot to the building. It's definitely worth a lot more today than what he paid for it. He added square footage to it and everything.
Yeah.
And so it goes to show you, you just never know. All you have to do is ask.
Yeah. Who told us that?
Ask.
Someone said
Yeah.
It was an interaction we had yesterday. The gentleman, Rolando, I think. Ronaldo.
Oh yeah.
Rolando. He said.
Oh.
He said, "How did that come in?" Oh, because you got a discount, and you just had asked, "Hey, anything you can help me out with the price?" And he says, "Let me see what we can do," right? Something like that. And he says that his wife told him years ago when they first were dating that all you have to do is ask. You never know. There's a 50% chance they'll say yes, 50% chance you'll say no.
Yeah.
It's simple.
It's simple.
There's only two outcomes. Yes, no, maybe. But maybe is no.
Right.
Until it's a yes. But it's interesting because from looking at it from an outside perspective, this gentleman who bought the building from you had no competition because no one was making offers to buy. Everyone was leasing or looking to lease. So he was able to overpay at the time, but to him it meant being closer, and for him it was worth overpaying. And he closed the deal and no competition.
No competition. And it was for him, he wanted to be closer to the family.
Yeah.
It meant cutting he explained it to me.
His commute.
His commute was 1 hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And so now he was 5 minutes away walking.
Yeah.
From another business that the family had on that same street.
Yeah.
5 minutes away walking, as opposed to 1 hour and 15-minute commute in the vehicle. Because traffic can be tough in LA. Let's leave it there.
It reminds me of there was a gentleman that we know that bought. I mean, I don't know why this story. He was from the Philippines, I think, and he ended up buying this huge property and building a huge property on it. But it was a situation that, remember, he built this massive house.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
And he was from a field of...
he was a machinist.
He was a machinist, worked up, built up.
All his life hard.
All his life, saved up a ton of money, bought this huge property.
Well, he had bought other properties prior to that and flipped them, and the profits he kept accumulating.
And then buys this huge but builds a huge house.
Right.
That maybe was beyond his scope at that point, and he lost it.
He lost everything.
He lost the property, right?
Yeah.
Or he had to sell it at a...
No, he lost everything.
Yeah.
That's a sad story.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's a situation where one does a risk, but it reminded me because he was also from... this other gentleman was from Vietnam. This gentleman was from the Philippines. But
right.
They had their trade, and you make a move, and sometimes that move works out well, and sometimes that move costs you.
Right.
And you got to recover, and some people don't recover from things
well,
like
he
that.
didn't.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he didn't recover for that. And it affected every aspect of his life. Every aspect of his life.
Yeah.
That's not a happy ending story,
no,
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
But it's real. It's real life.
It's real. Yeah, that I stayed in touch with him for a little while, and I mean, he was like night and day from when I met him. When I met him, his enthusiasm, his energy, his charisma was off the charts.
Yeah.
And later on the phone, as we talked, it was just low, damp. You know, it had taken
Oof.
too much out of him,
Yeah.
and it's unfortunate. But that happens too, and it's a good point that you bring up, because on social media, like you said the other day, we see the glory,
Yeah.
okay? But it's not all glory.
No way.
Not everybody that
Doesn't-
takes a risk comes out shining. It's not all glory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I really like the saying about it's only failure if you stop trying, or if you don't get back up. But there are challenges and upsets and road bumps and failures along the way, and you just gotta get up and keep going. If you can recover.
Yeah, you know, this gentleman was older. This was a hit that tumbled him.
Yeah.
Um,
But we know there's lots of stories of also people who have lost it all and made it back,
and come back, yeah.
and even bigger.
I think Donald Trump.
Is he one?
Yeah,
I
Trump
think-
lost a bunch of stuff, and he was even, I think, even declared bankruptcy and whatever, and
Well, a bunch of times.
yeah, a bunch of times. But
And
he's back.
I think Cardone lost a lot.
Oh,
Grant Cardone at a certain point in time when the 2008.
2008, he lost a lot.
I think
yeah.
he says he was down to like, I don't remember. It was less than 10 million, which I guess he's now built up a portfolio over $1 billion in real estate. But at that point, 2008, I think he was down to less than 10 million or in that range, and he's built it back up. If you can weather those storms, like right now, we're in a situation with the real estate market that there are people that are losing money, right? When for the last several years, it was pure profits, or at least the way it seemed. And we were speaking to a gentleman that is an investor who loans. He gives out loans, right? He's the one that comes up with the cash, and he said that he had a couple loans that were in foreclosure
Oh, that's right. I know who you're talking about. Hmm.
or pre-foreclosure foreclosure. So he's like,
It was a good run.
He said we had a real good run because you had asked him, hey, you've done well with investing on the loan business, right? And I think it's private loans. Is that
Yeah,
what he's
it's
doing?
hard money.
Like hard money.
Yeah.
And he's saying, yeah, we had a real good run,
But
now I got two foreclosures, is what he
yeah,
said,
we're going to lose money on.
that we're going to lose money on.
And even the guy you follow, what's his name? I think he's Filipino. He's out of Las Vegas. He used to be a
Ryan Pineda?
baseball player. Huh?
Ryan Pineda.
Ryan Pineda. He said on the podcast,
Oh, yeah.
he's going to lose $1 million.
He's going to lose $1 million on flips.
So, you know, I don't want to spin this podcast in a negative way.
No, but
But
it's reality.
the reality of things is that
Yeah.
you don't make money on every deal.
No.
You know, and Cardone, is it Cardone? There's somebody out there. I'm not sure if it's Cardone or Dan Payne. It's not Dan Payne. Anyway, somebody out there says, hey, you know, I learned more from the deals that challenged me and that I fail. I learned more from my failures than from my successes.
That makes sense.
That's what this guy was saying.
It makes sense.
I learned more from my failures than from my successes.
You know, yeah. I think that in negotiation, because that's, kind of what we opened up, sometimes you get into a bad deal, right? Or sometimes you get into a bad situation, but can you... The art of negotiation, and going back to the guy with the watch and not wanting to sell it, or the property that you weren't looking to sell, I think that if we become better negotiators in life, we will have a better experience. Like, even if it comes down to like leasing a car or purchasing a vehicle, if you don't go in there and you're not a good negotiator, I think that you can get destroyed at a car dealership.
Car sales men or women,
Are
they're...
some of the best, toughest sales.
I go in there and
My respects.
Yes, my respects. I'm out of my league.
Yeah.
These guys and
So
ladies are.
so you got to be able to negotiate. Now some people say just they draw a line. If it's not this, I won't buy it. That's I guess a form of negotiation, just like a hard line.
Right.
And it's just what is I was listening to a guy, Matt Onofrio, who's in commercial real estate, big
Okay.
in commercial. He was the anesthesiologist that turned
Correct.
real estate investor.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. He's young.
Very young, and he has a was it him? Oh, you know what? I might be confusing him with this other gentleman, but I don't think it was Matt Onofrio actually. But this gentleman is a real estate investor, and he basically says, "Here's my offer." And this is my offer today. He knows that it's a lower offer, but he's gonna close it. It's cash. Blah blah blah. The guy then he says you have X amount of days. Let's say a week to respond. If you don't respond to accept that offer, I'm gonna withdraw it, and I'm not gonna make you another offer again. These are off-market properties,
Wow.
and he says that some people have come back to him, please, I want to, and he says that in some of them, he says, no, I withdrew my offer. I'm not interested anymore. Or in some of them, he's even done, well, that was the offer a week ago, or over a week ago. Now the offer is going to be this. And so it's interesting because that's like a really hard line negotiation. It sounds almost shrewd, right? Shrewd businessman type. But that's that guy's way of negotiating.
Well, I think it's very smart, and it's something that I may pick up moving forward, because I make an offer. See, I've landed a lot of real estate deals by just dropping the seed. Hey, if you ever want to sell, or if you ever want to get rid of it, let me know. I'd be interested. And I go on with my life. I've dropped enough of those seeds that, there's always something happening to a certain extent. But I like that, even though you say it might be a shrewd way of because there's a timeline.
Yeah, because I think the way his approach is, there's a timeline, and then you move on and focus on another deal, because this person's wasting your time. Because if this person wants to go back and forth, he's not going to do that. He's just, this is what it is. If you don't accept it, we will never make you another offer. It's interesting.
Having a time frame is important. I'll tell you why too. We're not going to mention any names,
Yeah.
but the gentleman that we like a lot, that we used to go to this restaurant for breakfast all the time, and he would be there, and we say hello, and he was no names. He was the property manager in one of the places where I was. You know who I'm talking about?
Not at the moment, but go ahead.
Okay, well, and so I needed to negotiate my way out of a lease.
Oh, okay. Now I know who you're talking about.
Okay. And we would see him,
Yeah.
we would go have our breakfast. We loved this place, coffee, and he would come to our table every now and then before he left.
Say hello.
Say hello. And I remember that one day I said, hey, I'm going to talk to you about the lease.
Right. You want to move.
And he said, oh, what about? And I said, well, I got another location, so I want to see how we can work something out, because I still have, I had like 3 years left, something like that. And he said, oh, well, the sooner you let me know, the better, because I can start looking for someone, and I can, place it on the market. Until then, you're it. So right there and then he told me, and I said, when are you gonna officially break it to me? And I said, well, I haven't even told my staff yet.
Right.
So I would want you to keep this private to yourself. Maybe it was just too soon for me to approach, but I haven't even shared it with my staff. And the right thing to do is talk to my staff first,
Yeah.
in my mind. And he said, okay, but just remember, the sooner you tell me, the better, because I can prepare.
Yeah, he wanted several months
Right.
before you moved out
Right.
to find a new tenant to replace you.
And by the time I told him, I was ready to tell my staff, and I didn't want to spend several months there negotiating a way out of that lease.
Right.
So by telling him, and I thought a little bit about it beforehand, but by telling him, it put me on
A timeline.
a timeline. I was too relaxed, maybe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Sometimes we need a timeline.
yeah, it kicked me in the butt. It pushed me to, hey, you know what? And I think that same week, I think that was on a Monday, and by Wednesday I was telling my staff. So sometimes having a timeline may help.
Yeah, I think something really powerful when we.
Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
When I told him, maybe it was good that I came forth
Yeah.
and shared it with you, because
It created a little bit of a pressure.
it created a little pressure.
Accountability.
Yeah, a little pressure.
To get you moving.
Get moving. Let's get moving on it.
Yeah, when we went to go see Bedros Keuilian,
Okay.
that's one of the things that impacted me the most about his presentation speech was he says that, and I've heard it before, right? SMART goals has to be specific, measurable, attainable, and it has time bound.
Yeah.
But SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable. There was an R. I missed the R. And then time bound.
Okay.
Do you remember what the R is?
No.
Realistic.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, so we've heard it, but when he said that, he tied it to a story, and he said, "Look, Bedros Keuilian says my father was a tailor, and they had a tailor business. My father and my mother, when they came to this country, and all of his life, he said, one day we'll go to Europe. One day we'll go to Europe, and he says my father now is in his 80s.
Yeah, in his 80s.
And Bedros said it. He says he's scared to leave his house.
He never went to Europe.
He never went to Europe. What he's saying is he's scared to even leave his house now. He's not going to make that promise. And the reason that he says he says, don't be like my father. Yeah, he uses that story, which is very impactful. But he says, you need to put a timeline on that. The problem with the goal of going to Europe one day was that he never put a date on it. He just said one day we'll go to Europe, and Bedros was talking about we need to man up. Right, that's the name of his book.
That's the name of his excellent
Man
book.
Up or Woman Up.
Excellent book. Man Up.
He says we need to man up, and when you set a goal, set a timeline. I'm gonna go to Europe on this date. I think it's very powerful.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I don't remember the exact, but where the guy said there was a conference and the gentleman raised his hand. He says, "Well, I want to be a millionaire. Who doesn't want to be a millionaire? I want to be a millionaire." And the guy said, "Okay, well,
when?
By when? Okay, well, give me a date.
A definitive date.
Yeah. You want to be a millionaire in 1 year? Do you want to be a millionaire in 5 years?
When you're 85?
Yeah. So by when? Because potentially you could be on your way right now to be a millionaire.
Yeah.
But by the time you turn 92. And so that was very good. And then the other thing he said is, okay, now you want to be a millionaire in 5 years, right? Okay. Now go to that year and work backwards. What are you going to do to get there? Okay?
Yeah.
You want to be a millionaire by this age? Okay, well then you're going to need to make X amount of money a week, which is X amount of money a month, which is X amount of money a quarter, which is X amount of money every 6 months. So that's what you need to do for a year. Now, how are you going to do it? What are you doing right now? Do you have your own business?
Yeah, it's
Do
about
you work for somebody else?
very specific.
Right. So he was just slicing it and
Right.
continued to slice it.
Yeah,
And it was very interesting the way he worked it backwards.
yeah, yeah. It's powerful when you look at it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, we're always going to seminars and things like that, and you always learn something. And it's to Cardone's credit. And, you know, when I heard it the first few times, I thought, you know, this guy's just, you know, I mean, I have a great deal of respect for him because of what he's done with his personal life. Because he shares it with everybody. He had been into drugs and he fell very, very deep into a very, very black hole.
yeah,
And he climbed out of it, you know. And I don't know how that is like, but I hear that even though your family loves you and wants to help you, you got to climb out of that hole by yourself, apparently. You know, I'm not, I don't know anything about this, but so I have a great deal of respect for him. But when I heard that, I thought, when I heard, you know, because he's always pushing, invest in yourself, and because he's always selling something, you know.
you buy a
He's
book,
got a program,
course,
he's got a book, he's got
investing
this.
is fun.
Yeah, so you know, I thought initially this guy
Self-serving.
wants you to buy his stuff,
Yeah,
but no, it's more than that. It's a lot more than that, because when you go to these places, you learn something new.
oh, like his conferences
Oh yeah,
or the events.
I'm
Yeah.
it just happened. I think in Vegas. I'm upset with myself that I missed it. I wanted to
it
go.
passed.
I think
Yeah.
it did, or sold out, or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, there is something about the energy. Well, I went to one.
Yeah, you went. You got on a plane and flew.
Yeah, I went to Miami.
Yeah.
And what was interesting is I flew out of LAX, and I went out this was in 2019, I believe.
Okay.
I think it was 2019. Anyways, maybe 2018. Maybe 2018. But I went out and I get on the airplane, and there were a bunch of people on the plane going to the 10X conference.
Oh yeah.
They were flying from LAX to Miami on a Thursday or whatever day it was. And I thought it was interesting because you could tell they're young guys and they have like a lot of energy. They're in sales or something, and they're into Cardone's books. And so the airplane already had like this energy to it, like aggressive, good energy.
You never told me that. I don't remember you telling me that.
And then when I land there, and I went with my buddy Joey. He didn't go to the conference, but we stayed together in different places, Airbnb, and we would go out at night and go eat and stuff, and go have some drinks and stuff. And there were people in Miami that were part of the 10X. They were wearing still their 10X shirts or their hat. And you could tell these guys were all hungry.
How cool is that?
That's the culture, and that's what I think that. And then you go into an arena, because this was at the Marlins Stadium in Miami.
Wow.
And you go into the arena, and the arena is full of young, aggressive, hungry men. There were women there. There were women. Now there were also people that I met that were older too, like in their 30s, 40s, 50s.
Wow.
But
That's old, huh?
well, because at the time, a lot of the people there were very young.
Wow.
I would say early 20s.
But that's very cool, that even the airplane had that energy.
The airplanes,
It
the
would get there.
bars, the restaurants.
The airplane would get there even without gas.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a group of them, and they were rowdy in the back. They were just all pumped to go to the conference. So anyways, all that's just to say that not only is it the message that you get when we go to these seminars and different things, but I think the energy that's in a room
Absolutely.
is very powerful. And the connections you can make.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you always pick up something.
Yeah.
You always learn something. There's another guy out there, I'm not remembering people today, but there's one guy out there that says, you only need to get lucky once.
Yeah.
That's it. You only need to get lucky once. I mean, you can have several mistakes, but you get lucky once, and that one can potentially propel you. And then you get that energy and that momentum. And you,
Yeah.
when you get that energy and that momentum, folks, you hold on tight to that. And that's going to carry you along with everything else that you are doing for yourself.
Well, only getting lucky is like that combination, right? Of um, preparation meets
Opportunity.
opportunity.
Right.
So, yeah, some people have luck, but it's also usually the person that's out there looking, and the person who's looking will find.
Well, they say, the harder I work, right? All these cliches,
Yeah.
the harder I work, the luckier I get.
Yeah.
But there's a lot about that. I do believe tremendously in the power of energy and coming from a good place, Um, yeah, especially, as you get older. I mean, when you're young, you're strong, abrasive, maybe impulsive sometimes. So, but if you're able to, uh, at a younger age, try to invest in yourself by learning,
Yeah.
educating yourself. There's no substitute for that.
I agree. Well,
He's right.
one thing that and we can wrap it up here if you'd like, but one thing that I like Bet David talks about, Patrick Bet David,
Uh huh.
he says, who are the people that you follow and look up to? Who did they study? Like, who did Abraham Lincoln study? Who did, if it's if you think Kennedy, or if you think whoever the people that you look, Martin Luther King, these figures that we have in life that we see them as, they achieved a certain level of achievement or success. Who did they um, study to become the person that they are? And I think that's a really cool, because like if you look at the Cardones, if you look at Pineda, Bet David, all these people that are big on social media, who did they read? And I think that will help you. Like for example, I think yes, it's good to do a lot of learning. You can learn on YouTube and on other social media about these people. You can read their books, but I like to go a little bit further back personally. I get a lot out of these people as well, but I like to go a little further back and try and read a little bit more of history. Like that's why I like a lot Robert Greene, is because he's using examples of history,
Right.
like Napoleon
Yes.
and these kings from the medieval times, and
Yeah. Well,
Cyrus the Great and Alexander the Great, and
Yes.
can you imagine who were they studying? Who was Marcus Aurelius studying? It's pretty cool.
Oh yeah. All right.
Wrap it up there.
Wrap it up. Thank you.